Love. It's a word we use often, yet it remains one of the most misunderstood aspects of human experience. We say we love our partners, families, friends, and even our favorite foods. But what does it truly mean to love? And why does genuine love feel so difficult in a world that often feels self-centered, even narcissistic? These are the questions psychoanalyst and social philosopher Erich Fromm sought to answer in his groundbreaking book, The Art of Loving. Published in 1956, Fromm's work challenged the conventional wisdom of his time. While many viewed love as a passive emotion, something that simply happens to us, Fromm argued that love is an active choice, a skill to be cultivated, and a practice to be honed. Love isn't something we fall into, it's something we must consciously build. Fromm wrote The Art of Loving in a post-war world, grappling with existential questions about human connection and meaning. Yet, his insights feel strikingly relevant today, perhaps even more so. In our modern world, dominated by social media, where self-promotion often overshadows selflessness, Fromm's words resonate like a wake-up call. We live in an age where likes and followers measure worth, where curated images replace authentic connection, and where individual success often takes precedence over communal care. Fromm foresaw this long before Instagram or TikTok. He warned that a society obsessed with materialism and individualism would struggle to foster genuine love. In a world constantly urging us to focus on ourselves, our image, achievements, and desires, it's easy to lose sight of what love truly requires: the ability to see beyond ourselves, to care deeply for others, and to prioritize connection over consumption. Fromm's critique of modern culture remains piercing. He observed that we often treat love as a commodity, something to be acquired or traded, rather than given freely. We seek partners who fulfill our needs, boost our status, or validate our self-worth, rather than cherishing them as unique individuals. This transactional approach, Fromm argued, is a symptom of a deeper issue: narcissism. This is where Fromm's work becomes not just a philosophical exploration, but a mirror held up to our own lives. How often do we enter relationships not to give love, but to receive it? How often do we seek validation, admiration, or comfort, rather than striving to understand and care for the other person? Fromm called this the commodification of love, turning a profound human connection into a transaction. In a fragmented and self-absorbed world, Fromm's message is a call to action. He challenges us to rethink love, to move beyond shallow, self-serving versions, and embrace a deeper, transformative kind of love. A love that is not just felt, but practiced. A love that requires us to step outside ourselves and truly see the other person. Over the next hour, we'll explore these questions. We'll examine the barriers to genuine love, how narcissism manifests in our lives, and the path forward toward a love that is not just felt, but practiced. A love that is, as Fromm put it, an art. Let's begin. Therapist. So you've been feeling disconnected in your relationships. Tell me more about that. Patient. I don't know. It's like, no matter what I do, I can't seem to truly connect with people. I try to be there for them, but it always feels shallow, like I'm going through the motions. Therapist. Have you ever heard the term narcissism? Patient. Sure. Isn't that just like being obsessed with yourself? Like people who can't stop taking selfies or talking about how great they are? Therapist. That's a common misconception. Narcissism, in the psychological sense, is much deeper than vanity or self-absorption. It's not just about loving yourself too much. It's about being trapped in yourself, unable to truly see or connect with others. Erich Fromm described narcissism as a kind of blindness. When we're narcissistic, we see the world only through our own needs, desires, and fears. Other people become mirrors. They exist to reflect back what we want to see, rather than as individuals with their own thoughts, feelings, and experiences. Patient. So it's not just about being selfish, it's about not being able to see beyond yourself. Therapist. Exactly. And here's the thing. We all have narcissistic tendencies to some degree. It's part of being human. But when narcissism becomes the dominant way we relate to the world, it creates a barrier to genuine connection. It prevents us from truly loving others, because love requires us to see them as they are, not as extensions of ourselves. Patient. That makes sense. I think I do that sometimes. I get so caught up in how I'm feeling or what I need that I don't really see the other person. It's like I'm so focused on my own reflection that I forget there's someone else there. Therapist. That's a powerful insight, and it's the first step toward change. Fromm believed that overcoming narcissism is essential to loving genuinely. It's about shifting from a self-centered orientation to an outward loving one. It's about learning to see others, not as mirrors, but as whole, separate beings deserving of care and respect. Patient. But how do you do that? How do you stop seeing people as mirrors? Therapist. That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Fromm would say it starts with awareness, recognizing when we're being narcissistic. And then it's about practice, learning to listen deeply, to empathize, to care for others without expecting anything in return. It's not easy, but it's possible. Love, as Fromm said, is an art, and like any art, it takes time, effort, and patience to master. But the first step is understanding what's standing in our way. And for many of us, that's narcissism, the modern world, and narcissism. Erich Fromm wrote The Art of Loving in the 1950s, but his warnings about narcissism feel almost prophetic today. In our modern world, the barriers to genuine love aren't just personal, they're cultural. We live in a society that often encourages self-centeredness, individualism, and the commodification of relationships. Take social media, for example. Platforms like Instagram and TikTok are built on self-promotion. We're encouraged to present polished, perfect versions of ourselves, to seek validation through likes, comments, and followers. But what does this do to our ability to love genuinely? Fromm would argue that it entrenches narcissism. When we're constantly focused on how we're perceived, we lose the ability to see others as they truly are. Instead of connecting with people, we compare ourselves to them. Instead of building relationships, we build personal brands. Consumerism exacerbates this problem. We're taught to believe that happiness comes from acquiring things, whether it's a new car, a trendy outfit, or the perfect partner. Love becomes just another commodity, something to be bought and sold. Dating apps, for instance, turn relationships into a marketplace where we swipe through potential partners as if they're products on a shelf. And then there's the cult of individualism. In a world that prizes personal success above all else, we're encouraged to prioritize our own needs, desires, and ambitions. While self-care and self-improvement are important, extreme individualism isolates us. It makes us see others as competitors, not companions. It erodes the sense of community and connection that love requires. Fromm believed that love is the antidote to this isolation. But for love to thrive, we must resist the cultural forces that pull us toward narcissism. We need to shift from a mindset of me to a mindset of we. This isn't easy, of course. It requires us to reject the idea that our worth is tied to our achievements, appearance, or possessions. It requires us to prioritize connection over consumption, empathy over ego, and giving over getting. In a world that often feels fragmented and self-absorbed, Fromm's message is more important than ever. Love isn't just a feeling, it's a choice, a practice, a way of being in the world. And if we want to cultivate genuine love, we must first confront the cultural forces that stand in our way, the barriers to genuine love. Alex, I just don't get it, Jamie. We've been together for 2 years, and it feels like we're stuck, like we're going through the motions. Jamie, I know what you mean. It's like we're together, but we're not really together, you know? It's like we're both waiting for something to happen, but I don't even know what that something is. Alex, exactly. And it's not like we don't care about each other. We do, but it's like the spark is gone. The magic. I thought love was supposed to feel like more than this. The spark. The magic. How many of us have felt this way in our relationships? How many of us have wondered why love doesn't feel the way we thought it would? Erich Fromm called this the illusion of romantic love. We're taught to believe that love is something we fall into, a magical, effortless experience that sweeps us off our feet. But Fromm argued that this idea is deeply misleading. Love isn't something that happens to us. It's something we create. And when we expect it to be effortless, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Think about the stories we're told about love. In movies, books, and songs, love is portrayed as a feeling, a rush of emotion that solves all our problems and makes us whole. But real love isn't like that. Real love is messy. It's hard work. It requires patience, effort, and a willingness to see the other person as they truly are, flaws and all. Alex, do you think we've been expecting too much? Like maybe we've been waiting for some kind of fairy tale, and that's why it feels so empty. Jamie, maybe. I mean, I love you, Alex. I do. But maybe I've been loving the idea of you, the version of you that fits into this perfect relationship I've been imagining. Not the real you. Alex, same here. I think I've been so focused on how I want things to be that I haven't really been seeing you. Not really. This is the danger of narcissism in love. When we're trapped in our own expectations, we stop seeing the other person as they are. Instead, we see them as a character in our own story, a reflection of our desires, needs, and fantasies. And when they inevitably fail to live up to those fantasies, we feel disillusioned. Fromm believed that the first step toward genuine love is letting go of these illusions. It's about shifting from a passive, self-centered love, where we wait for the other person to make us happy, to an active, giving love, where we take responsibility for our own happiness and strive to understand and care for the other person. Jamie, maybe we've been looking at this all wrong. Maybe love isn't about finding the perfect person, but about learning to love the imperfect person in front of us. Alex, yeah, maybe it's not about waiting for the spark, but about creating it together. And that, perhaps, is the true art of loving. Not waiting for love to happen, but choosing to make it happen every single day. Sam, I don't know, Taylor. Lately it feels like we're just going through the motions, like we're together, but we're not really together, you know? Taylor, I feel that too. It's like we're both here, but we're not really here. What's going on with us? The fear of loneliness. It's one of the most powerful forces in human relationships. For many of us, the idea of being alone is so terrifying that we cling to relationships, not out of love, but out of fear. Erich Fromm understood this fear deeply. He believed that many people enter relationships not to give love, but to escape their own emptiness. Instead of seeking connection, they seek validation. Instead of loving another person, they use them as a mirror, a way to reflect back their own worth, their own existence. This is where narcissism takes root. When we're afraid of being alone, We become consumed with ourselves, our needs, fears, and insecurities. We stop seeing the other person as they truly are. Instead, we see them as a means to an end, a way to fill the void inside us. Sam, I think I've been doing that, using you as a mirror. I've been so afraid of being alone, of feeling empty, that I've been clinging to you, not because I love you, but because I need you to make me feel whole. Taylor, I think I've been doing the same thing. I've been so focused on my own fears, my own needs, that I haven't really been seeing you. Not really. This is the paradox of narcissism in love. The more we fear loneliness, the more we isolate ourselves. The more we seek validation, the less we're able to give or receive genuine love. It's a cycle that leaves us feeling emptier than before. Fromm believed that the only way to break this cycle is to confront our fear of loneliness, to sit with it, to understand it, and ultimately, to transcend it. Only then can we begin to love genuinely, not as a way to escape ourselves, but as a way to connect with another person. Sam, maybe we need to stop trying to fill the void in each other. Maybe we need to learn to be okay with ourselves first. Taylor, yeah, maybe love isn't about fixing each other. Maybe it's about being there for each other, not as mirrors, but as partners. And that, perhaps, is the true art of loving. Not using another person to escape our fears, but facing those fears together. And in doing so, finding a love that is deeper, stronger, and more genuine than we ever imagined. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll explore practical steps to cultivate genuine love and overcome the barriers of narcissism in our relationships.